and welcome to my channel where I talk all about reselling, building multiple streams of income, and working from home. My name is Eileen, and today I'm going to talk about whether ThredUp is worth it for sellers. So if it's worth it to send your items in to ThredUp to sell for you. I'm certainly no expert, but I've done it a couple of times and I do have a lot of insight and information to share with you if you are thinking about selling your items into ThredUp and having them sell items for you and give you the money. So keep watching if you want to find out if ThredUp is worth it for sellers. So first, if you've never heard of ThredUp, it's basically an online thrift store. As a buyer, you can go on there just like any other store and purchase items, except for a lot of them are pre-owned. So it's like a secondhand marketplace, but instead of like eBay or Poshmark where people are selling their own items, ThredUp is listing items for other people and shipping them. So basically you're sending your items in and then buyers are buying them from ThredUp directly and then you get paid out. So as a seller, the way it works is you order a clean out kit, which can either just be a label that you print out and put on a box up to 30 pounds, or you can request a clean out kit, which they will mail to you, and it will be this gigantic poly bag with a label on it that you can stuff full of stuff and mail back to them. I will have a link down below where you can get a clean out kit so that you can do that if that's something you decide to do after you've watched this video. Once you've mailed in your clean out kit, then you have to wait for them to process it, and this is one of the worst things about ThredUp. The processing time is ridiculously long. You can pay an additional fee to have them expedite your processing, but it still takes a couple of weeks. And if you don't pay that fee, it can be months. I think I've waited up to 5 months for them to process my items. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're looking to make money quickly, this is not the way to do it. Once the items have been processed, they will email you and let you know, and they will post the items on the website. Anything they decide not to sell will be sent back to you if you choose to pay the $10.99 return assistance, I think it's called. Return assurance. They will take that from any sales that you make. So it's $10.99 to get that all shipped back to you. Or if you decide you don't want it, they will keep it and I guess donate it. So it's up to you whether you want to pay that fee and get your items back, or if it's something that you're not interested in getting back, they will donate it. The only thing is that you don't know what they're keeping and what they're not keeping. So you really have to decide this when you're sending your items in, if it's something you want back or if you want them to just keep it. Once they've listed your items, you can change your prices from what they've priced them at. And I usually recommend doing this because they will price things pretty low. So it just depends. If you're trying to make maximum profit on an item, then you can change the prices and raise them. Or if you don't mind their pricing, if you keep it lower, obviously the chances of them selling are a lot higher. So that's totally up to you. The only thing about changing prices is if you go up above a certain percentage, they will charge you a per item fee if that item doesn't sell and they have to send it back to you. So that's something to keep in mind. So then once your item sells, they will kind of hold it as a pending sale until the return window is done, and then they will credit your account. Items have, I believe, 60 or 90 days to sell depending on the item. So like lower end items have 60 days. I believe higher end items have 90 days to sell. And then if they don't, you can reclaim your items. I believe you do have to pay for shipping. During the last 7 days of the 60 or 90 days, you are able to reclaim items to get sent back to you. You do have to pay shipping on those to get those back. Otherwise, ThredUp will keep them, and I'm not sure what they do. They might put them in their rescue boxes or donate them. I'm not 100% sure. So here are the pros and cons of selling on ThredUp. The first pro is there is no upfront cost. When you send all the items, you're not paying for shipping, you're not paying for anything upfront. You can just send your items in. So that's a great pro to selling things on ThredUp. The second pro is that you can send items and forget them. You don't have to do anything at that point. At that point, once you've sent the items, if you're not planning on changing the pricing or reclaiming the items, you can just send it and just occasionally check to see if items have sold and you have a credit and cash it out. So it's a really good way to send and forget it if you don't want to deal with those items anymore. And another pro is that your options are either ThredUp credit, or you can cash out via PayPal or Stripe. Or if you want a higher amount, you can request a gift card from the stores that they offer gift cards for. And usually you can get like a 10 or 15% bump. So if it was like you had a $10 credit and you requested a gift card from something with a 15% bump, you'd get an extra $1.50. So that's a great way to get more money to shop at retail stores, or you could even probably sell that gift card if you would prefer to do that. So there are a lot of different ways to get paid, which is great. Now for the cons of ThredUp. The first con I mentioned, which is the longest processing time ever. I'm telling you, I don't think I've ever waited less than 2 or 3 months for them to process something. So it's a long time that they hold on to your items. If you do send it and forget it, you will make less because you're not raising your prices a little bit. Usually ThredUp prices pretty competitively, so you're making a lot less money versus if you went in and changed the prices to what you think that items could actually sell for. So sometimes their pricing is accurate. Sometimes you can sell items for a lot more and they price things really low. So it just really depends. Another con is that time limit of 60 or 90 days to get things sold. They don't give you very much time. I guess that's 2 to 3 months, but once that 60 or 90 days is up, you have to either get the items back or let them keep it. They don't keep things up for longer than 60 or 90 days. Another con is that $10.99 in return assurance, that you have to decide if you want the items returned back to you or not at the beginning before you even send items in. So let's say you sent in 50 items and they kept 49 of them and you have return assurance on, you're paying $10.99 to get that item shipped back. But if you don't do that, they could keep one item and then 49 items are kind of in limbo. And if you don't do that return assurance, they will keep all of that or donate it or whatever they do with it. So it's hard to tell if you want to pay that return assurance. If you have items that you don't care about and don't care if they come back, then don't pay that and you won't get them back. But if you have items that are a little bit more expensive or you do want to take them back to try and sell them, definitely do the return assurance. So you'll just pay an extra $10.99 for that. Another really big con is there is an increasing list of brands that they just won't sell on their site. I guess these are just brands that don't do very well, or they just get too many of it and they just can't process it all. Another con is that sending in cheap or low-end brands may sound like a good idea. It's something that sounded like a good idea to me since I shop at the bins and I pay generally like 50 to 75 cents per item. I figured, oh, even if this only sells for $10 on ThredUp, I'll still make a little bit of money. But because of the way their payments are structured, their commission structure is, you're not going to make enough money if you're sending in things that are only selling for maybe like $10 or $15. So it's really not worth it. So what are the payouts like on ThredUp? So it really depends on what the item sells for. The payout is as little as 5% on really low end items that don't sell for a lot, to as much as 80% for things that sell for over $200. I will link below to this calculator where you can kind of put in different brands and styles and see what recent payouts were paid out for those items. You can also see just the payout commission structure on this page as well. So now I'm gonna go onto the computer and show you what my experience is and what my payouts have been in the past through ThredUp. I've been selling on ThredUp for a couple of years, but I don't send a lot of stuff in. So I think I have maybe like 6 or 8 bags that I've sent in and been paid out for. So I can show you a couple of them so you can get an idea of what people or what ThredUp is taking and what they're selling it for and the payout and all of that. Okay, so now we're on the ThredUp website and I'm just gonna go to my account. Actually, no, I'm gonna go to clean out and it's gonna show me kind of like my dashboard for ThredUp. So right now I have $48 in shopping credit or cash out that I need to cash out. I have rewards points and down here you can see my active items. I haven't sent anything in for a while. I have 1 pending sale, and that will make me a whole 73 cents for these dress pants. And then I have 3 items that are still listed. I believe these are items that were purchased and then returned and then the time started over. So if these items sell, I'll get a total of $14.40. Let's scroll down to my past kits. So this current kit, this is the 3 items that are still for sale. This is an item that expired that I did not claim. And these are the items that have sold. So let's see if we can click on this so I can show you. So I've earned $35 from this. I did have return assurance on, so it took away $10.99. So my total payout for all of this stuff so far was $24 and 14 of them sold. So that's really not a lot of money for 14 items. Let me show you what I sold. So here's where you can change prices. You can go up or down. It'll show you how much the payout is. Obviously, the more you go up, the higher the payout will get. So if, for example, if I move this up to $19.99, it goes up to 15%. So I'm gonna go put this back down because I just want this to sell. Actually, let's just clearance this stuff out so I get paid literally anything for these. We're gonna save all of these and see if they sell. $3 is better than no dollars, and I don't want to have to sell these things. Otherwise, I will reclaim them and I will probably sell them myself or take them to the buy sell trade store or even maybe sell them on Whatnot. If you haven't heard of Whatnot, go ahead and check the link down in the description below and sign up for a $10 credit. It's basically live auctions and I've been having a lot of fun doing it. So we are gonna go to items sold, or 14 sold, and I will show you how much I made on these items. So this is a pair of wide leg Body by Victoria dress pants and I made $2 on those. Banana Republic silk dress. I remember that it's silk, it doesn't say silk here, but I remember this dress, I remember it was silk. $3.80. A cabbie pullover, $4.26. Travelers by Chico's top, $1.68. J.Lo by Jennifer Lopez top, 61 cents. Ann Taylor Loft top, $3.52. DKNY dress, $1.92. Zenergy by Chico's shorts, $1.47. This Torrid sleeveless blouse, $3. This Torrid sleeveless blouse, $2. So I won't say all of them, but you can see I'm making between like $1 and $3.50 on most of these items. So sure, if you can get items like I do for like 50 cents and send them in, then you might be able to make a few dollars on each item, but to me it just doesn't seem worth it. There's a lot of a wait time. So unless you're selling items for maybe $50 or more, your commission is very low. So this might be worth it to you, and a lot of these items were things that I just didn't want to sell because they weren't worth enough for me to take pictures of and list and ship out and store and all of that. So it was worth it for me to just send in. So I probably shouldn't have had return assurance on them, and then I would have made $35 instead of $24. But as you can see, it's not a lot of money. Let's look at another kit. I made $81 on this one, so a little bit better. So I sold 13 items. So a pair of Levi's for $3, a pair of J. Jill jeans for $6.30, a pair of Prana jeans for $6.36, a pair of Chico's jeans for $5.09. So jeans, you could probably get 5 or more for. So maybe just send in jeans. A J. Crew cardigan for $7.88, a Flying Tomato rompers for $7.88, a Talbot's shirt for 54 cents, a Hutch casual dress. So I got $22 for this. So let's see, this sold for $60.99. So I got $22. So that was a good one. Old Navy overalls for $5.66. A Floriat casual dress for $6. So you can see, or I did a little bit better on these ones. And these were actual items that I sent in that weren't just like stuff that I didn't, well, it is stuff that I didn't want to list myself, but it wasn't just like leftover stuff. It wasn't just stuff I would have donated. It was stuff that I could have sold myself, but I decided to send them to ThredUp instead, and I made $70 on this one. So that's just an example of that one. And then I will show you one more just to show you. So now we can just scroll through all my kits and I can just kind of show you. So on this one, I sold 11 items for $56, and then I reclaimed 12 items that didn't sell. And you can actually see this item I resent in because it sold. Sometimes I get items back and I send it back in later and it will sell. So it just depends. On this one, I made $40.18 on 9 items. On this one, I made $127 on 9 items. There must have been something expensive in here. Yeah, there was a Dress Up Population jumpsuit that sold for that I got 60 for. It sold for $99 and I got a 60% payout. And then this Vince turtleneck sweater sold for $56.80 and I got a 42.6% payout, which gave me $24. So those were pretty good. This jumpsuit, like this is a good example of when you would send something higher end to ThredUp. I couldn't take a good picture of this. I tried and I just sat on this item for so long because I could not get a good picture. So I sent it to ThredUp and I still got 60 bucks for it. And that's a win for me. So that's a good example of when to send stuff in. I got $10 for this Banana Republic dress and these Paige jeans. So I have made some decent profit on some things, but you really have to be picky about what you send in if you want to make a good profit, if you're sourcing things specifically for ThredUp. So hopefully that gives you a good picture of how things do on ThredUp and what kind of stuff might be good to send in. So what am I doing moving forward with ThredUp? Right now, I'm not planning on sending anything to ThredUp. I do have a couple of labels that I've requested that I haven't used. So if I get to a point where I have a bunch of stuff that's still in really good condition and I'm not having a yard sale anytime soon and I'd rather not donate it and I want maybe a little bit of money for it, I might throw it in a ThredUp bag and just send it to them without return assurance and just move that stuff out and hopefully get paid a couple of dollars for it. That is the only thing that I'm planning to do with ThredUp. It used to be a really great platform to sell on. They used to give you the option to sell things up front, so they would get the items and you could just collect the money. I believe that's how it worked like years ago, but the way it's working now, it just doesn't seem worth it, honestly, at least for me who doesn't find a lot of high-end items. So that being said, here's what I would sell on ThredUp. Things that you don't want and you're gonna donate anyway. I wouldn't say send like damaged items to ThredUp because it's like a waste of shipping and all that stuff. But if maybe once a year you go through your inventory and you find that there are items that are just not selling for you that are decent items, it might be a good idea to just send those items to ThredUp and maybe you can get a couple dollars for each of those items. But what I would sell on ThredUp is higher end designer items that maybe you're having trouble unloading on eBay or Poshmark. For some reason, some higher end items sell okay on ThredUp. And if you sell an item, or if they sell an item for you for $200 or more, you get to keep 80%. So the commission structure on that is the same as Poshmark and they're doing all the work for you. So that might be a great way to send items into ThredUp if you find lots of things that will sell for a higher price. So my tips, if you do decide to do this, is to print the label instead of getting their bag. You can fit more stuff in a box and you can make the box up to 30 pounds. The bag they send you is really big, but I think that you can fit more on a box and you can just have it immediately. You can just print it out rather than waiting for them to send you a kit. So I do recommend just printing your own label. And I do recommend waiting until you have that full 30 pounds to send it in rather than sending maybe 10 or 15 pounds. Try to get as much as you can in that box since it takes so long for them to process. I'd rather do one big box once in a while than like send them little boxes. Also keep in mind that sometimes they will stop providing labels, like they will put a pause on it maybe just because they're busy. So in the end, I don't really recommend selling on ThredUp for most sellers. It just doesn't seem that profitable. If you can make it work for you, then great. But here are some alternatives to selling on ThredUp. Obviously, the first one is to sell yourself. If you're watching this video and you're not already a reseller, I highly recommend selling items yourself on places like eBay or Poshmark or Mercari. I do have a free eBay workshop. I will link to that down below so you can check that out if you are not familiar with reselling at all. It just kind of walks you through the basics and gives you some information so you know how to get started. You might be able to resell your items in lots. So I've done this in the past where I've either sold reseller lots, which is lots for people who are resellers and don't mind selling items for a little bit less, or you can do sized lots, so all size small tops, all size medium tops, stuff like that. And just selling things in lots at a lower price per item, but all at once can sometimes be a way to get items sold. I mentioned this also, having a yard sale. I usually have a yard sale 2 times a year or so, maybe 3, to unload inventory that just isn't moving, or items that I bought and I was gonna sell and then I decided they weren't worth it, or stuff like that. So having a yard sale can be a great way to move items out. And if you're only selling, and if your plan is to just send lower end items like Target brands or Walmart brands that ThredUp probably doesn't even take at this point, selling it for like $1 at a yard sale is gonna make you more money, and you can just move it quickly without having to worry about shipping it and all that. Another alternative would be to send your items to FLYP if you don't wanna sell items yourself. FLYP is an app where you can list lots of items and other resellers will sell them on consignment for you. So I will have a link down below for that as well. You basically just take just a picture of the front, I think, and some basic info, and list a lot of items and put them on FLYP, and resellers will try and bid on the items to sell, and then you will ship it to them, and as they sell the items they will give you a commission and you can cash out on flips. I've done that a couple times in the past, and if you can find someone that's a good seller, it can be a great way to just source items and then send to somebody else to sell for you. Usually I find the commission is around 50%, so the seller would take 50% and you would take 50%, so you're obviously not making it as much as you would be if you were selling it yourself, but 50% is higher than a lot of the commission on ThredUp depending on the price, so it could be a good way to do that. So hopefully you found this video helpful. I want to hear down in the comments below if you think it's worth it to sell on ThredUp, or what your experience is selling on ThredUp, because I don't love it. It used to be good at first and it seems like a good concept, but you really can't make a lot of money on ThredUp unless you have items that are going to sell for, like, I would say $50 or more. That ThredUp can sell for $50 or more, so it really just depends. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more videos from me about reselling, making money from home, and building multiple streams of income.